Welcome back to Creepy Kitty Creations. Sorry it's been a while, and if my voice is a bit croaky and raspy, I've got a bit of a sinus infection that just doesn't want to go away, so I've been trying to rest up. So for today's video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. This is a doll that I actually started over a year ago before I even started doing YouTube. This was her concept and I wanted her to be a succubus. She was just supposed to be some practice, but I finally finished her, so let's get started. So I originally started her around the same time I did Violet Evergarden. She was practice for inset eyes. So this is how her head started. Sorry that I don't have any footage of actually cutting the eyes. Again, I did this before I started doing YouTube, so I wasn't actually recording half of the footage. I did her body modifications out of Milliput, and that was a big learning curve for me because it actually didn't cure properly, so I had to go back over with more, so her enhancements ended up larger than intended. I made her corset out of Warbler and then covered it with leather and ended up with this outfit here. Now for the fun part, we're making some dragon demon wings out of liquid latex. I got the tutorial off of Tamaku. She has an amazing video on how to do these latex wings and also some angel wings. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. So first I'm just bending the wire into the shape of the wings that I'm wanting. So that was actually harder than I thought it was going to be. Sorry if it's a bit tedious, but I wanted to show the struggle. I always find it quite disheartening when I struggle doing things like this after seeing people on videos do it so perfectly. So I wanted to show it realistically and how the wires keep moving. The glue was a total pain, but it's worth it in the end, I think, to get some lovely movable wings. So I'm just measuring and cutting those to size. And now I'm going to use Uhu glue. It's my first time using it, and I declare that I absolutely hated it. It took forever to dry, it was so globby. I really didn't like it at all, but it eventually did the trick. And I went over it with liquid latex. Don't worry, I'll show you how I do this later. But this was the first pass, and it's liquid latex dries clear, or a sort of yellowish translucent clear colour, and I was just testing the wings for strength here. So I painted her body, and I didn't get any of the footage of me painting the wings, but we will be redoing them later, as you will see why. They're fully bendable, but I made a total rookie mistake, as you will see here. So got one wing looking good, and I forgot to flip them around. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to redo that, and so that we've got the red colour where it actually needs to be. So pour some liquid latex and use some black paint. I use a toothpick at first, but I end up swapping it out for a metal tool that's usually used for sculpting. It stirred up a lot better. So you'll want to mix this really well because it takes a long time for the paint to actually mix in with the latex, especially for the red, because the red is a thicker acrylic paint compared to the black. So this actually takes a really long time to mix in. And I thought it wasn't dark enough, so I actually go to put in a little bit of black. And it works, it darkened it up, but a little too much. So pour in a little more liquid latex if that happens, see if we can fix that. That should lighten it up, especially if put some more red back in. So I'm just trying not to worry about that. And that's going to take several minutes to mix in properly and get to the right colour. And I want to make this side red, so you just take a wee dropper tool. This is a metal ball tool that you use for sculpting polymer clay. It actually works really well, just dropping bits of liquid latex on there at a time. This will need 2 layers, so this is the first layer, then you'll want to wait for it to completely dry and then do a second layer over top. I quite like the texture that it gives as well, especially for these demony wings or dragon wings where you want it to look a little bit textured. I think it works really well. I was actually really happy with the colour too, because it almost perfectly matches the Succubus's skin colour. And then I remembered that liquid latex with paint in it dries 5 times as dark. So this will actually turn into that dark red colour, if you can believe it. I'm going over the other wing that has the red on the correct side because I want them to look the same. So I was afraid that the other wing would be a bit darker or lighter. Don't freak out when you see it like this. It looks really patchy. That's just because it dries at different lengths of time. Now I'm just going over with the black liquid latex to give some more detail of these wee little wingy bits and going over the top. And now they're completely dry. I went over the back as well in the black, but it was the same process as the red at the front. And I made these little fangs out of polymer clay to fit on the elbow. Yeah, I guess it's kind of an elbow. And I stuck those on with hot glue, which doesn't adhere well to the latex, so this is just to hold it in place temporarily while we cover it in more latex. So I just covered it with Glad Wrap so that I wouldn't have to mix it, waste not, want not. And we're just going to go over the wee claw fang thing, making sure to fill right in underneath because we want it to be stuck right onto that wing. So this will also probably need about 2 layers at least, also to get it quite flush to the wing. But once it dries, this will be really well stuck on the liquid latex. The mixing tool that I used, it was really hard to pull it off, it just grabbed it. So this also makes the wee claw a little bit bendable. It's not going to come off and it's going to bend with the wings. Now the only thing with liquid latex is that when it's dry it's very sticky, so you want to use a fine powder. I'm just using the powder that I use for my makeup. And you want to brush it over the wings. You can use talcum powder as well, but this will mattify them. It changes the colour a little bit, but it's worth it for it not to get little dust particles stuck to it constantly. I quite like the matte look as well compared to the gloss. The gloss is a little bit too shiny for my taste. So that's the difference. And now they're done. I originally started sculpting the horns out of milliput, but for those of you familiar with my channel, you know that I hate sculpting with milliput, so this time I wanted to try polymer clay. I've been sculpting with it a little bit recently and I actually quite like it, and I want to make the horns magnetic, so I think it's going to be a lot lighter as well. So first I'll do these little horns because they don't need to be magnetic, they are just going to stick into the head with pins. So just cover it, making sure to cover it all with a thin layer of polymer clay. And then I can just get to the details later. I wanted it to be a little bit like the Yeti doll and have that wee little round bit at the base of the horn so that it blends into the head better. So I'm just using my little sculpting tool to put little dots and textures that you might find on these kinds of horns. The hardest part when done was actually taking it off without ruining it, so I got them off in the end. And the horns are the tricky part because one is more developed than the other. As you can see, this one's got less milliput as a base, but these are the ones I want to be magnetic, so I need to make sure to sculpt around the little magnet. So I'm bulking it out with tinfoil, because that's what I saw to do on the Ace of Clay's channel. He is a master of polymer clay. If you like sculpting, definitely check out his channel. He's amazing. So I'm using a wee model head because I want it to fit to her head quite nicely, and I'm just making that wee little round bit to get it flush against the head and look like it's actually coming out of her scalp. And then I'm just using my flat rubber tool to make little rivets and make it look textured like what you get in ram's horns. And those are done. They're all baked. One is a lot bigger than the other, but I told myself it doesn't matter. I'm trying to get better with my perfectionism, and I just told myself she's just for me, she's not being sold. I will live if one of the horns is a bit bigger. If she was being sold, I would totally remake the larger horn because it's also quite a lot heavier. Now I'm just doing some dry brushing to bring out some of that sculpting detail that I worked so hard on. And I want to do a little bit of an ombre on the little horns. It wasn't in her original design, but I quite like the idea of them not both being black. So I went in with the same pinky purple that I use for her skin, and am just brushing some of that on. Yeah, that is a makeup brush. All of my proper brushes are currently being cleaned. So those are all dry now, but I went a little bit too light, so now I'm dry brushing on some black. And I went a little bit over the top with the pink, but that's okay because it's a lot lighter than black. So I'm going back over the tip with some black paint and dry brushing to try and get a nice gradient. So I actually already did the face up about a year ago, so I've got pictures of the stages but not video footage, I'm afraid, but looking back at it, I do actually have some changes that I want to make. I went totally over the top with her eyelashes, so I actually want to fix that and give her a bit nicer eyeliner. Try and go over top of that crazy eyelash detail. So I'm doing that with acrylic paint, which I don't usually do, and it was really nerve-wracking. I suppose I could have done watercolour pencil with a wet brush like I usually do, but something about the acrylic paint felt darker and, I don't know, more traditional, sturdier, blacker. Sorry, it keeps focusing on my hand. Yeah, it happened. The thing that everyone fears when doing their makeup or a face up. Yeah, that really sucked actually. Because the other eye, I got just how I wanted it, and now I'm going to have to change it. So, yeah, she'll be having a little bit more decorative eyeliner than I had planned. But, yeah, that's just how it had to be to try and cover that up, because it did not want to come off. Some of her other features felt a little bit washed out after doing the eyeliner, so I'm just going in with some more black paint to try and bring out some of those features. It's quite interesting seeing a face up that you've done a long time ago. Yeah, those eyelashes are crazy. If I were to do her face up completely over again, I wouldn't have drawn in any upper lashes because I'm going to be giving her 3D lashes, so I don't know why I did it in the first place. So I'm just going in with some white acrylic paint to do the highlights because they were also just a bit washed out. And some more white sparkly mica powder. And I did her eyelashes off camera because they didn't want to cooperate. I started filming at first, but yeah, they were really tricky. So this is how she's looking now. I still need to glue her wings on. I actually got her changed just to see how she was looking, and then I couldn't get her shoes off, so sorry about that. So I'm just gluing the wings on with hot glue. This is actually my 4th attempt at trying to glue these wings on. I tried super glue, I tried resin, I tried everything, and they just did not want to stay, so hot glue was my final prayer. And she just didn't look quite right, so I thought she needed some claws. So I'm using the technique that Vanilla Dolls on Instagram recommended. She is an expert at hot glue nails. They look fantastic, so I thought I'd give that a try. Some of them turned out better than others, but I'm pretty pleased with how they came out. So now I'm just painting the hot glue black to make it look like the wings are sprouting out of her back. And the wings are done. And now for her manicure. I think these were definitely the missing detail. They really definitely added to the look. And that's how they look with her corset on. Thankfully it still fits. I was hoping that I hadn't used too much glue. So now we can put the eyes in. I wasn't sure between blue or green, but then I actually quite like the way they look together, so I thought, okay, let's give her some different colour eyes. I love dolls with heterochromia. I just think they're beautiful, but putting the eyes in was really hard. I struggled, and then right when I got them in, they popped straight back out when I tried to adjust the blue. I wasn't happy, but I got them in eventually. It's so hard to get the doll's eyes in and staying when you put in the second one. They just want to pop back out, and it's so hard to get them in without them looking derpy. So I know a lot of people use magnets and things to close the heads, but I haven't had much luck with that in all the times I've tried it, so I'm sticking with blue tack for now. This is the wee little bolero I made, and her shoes. I actually got footage of me gluing all those tiny rhinestones on, and I don't know whether I lost the footage or forgot to press record, but I can't find it anywhere. But I'm quite pleased with this little bolero. It's got a wee hook on it to go over this wee bead to give that sort of turtleneck look that I thought would go really nice with her corset. I already made her wig. It's been all flattened down and everything, and I put some magnets under the top layer of wefts for the horns. They aren't the sturdiest, but I'm pretty pleased. It's here you can see the difference in size, but I'm not going to be too mad about it. I originally made some little hair buns for her as well, but those top horns turned out a lot bigger than I'd planned, so I just left them off. And she's done! Our wee succubus doll. Those shoes were the things of my nightmares, and they're never coming off ever again. It was hard to put them on, but I'm really glad after over a year that she's finished. It's been a labour of love. 4 horns, wings, pretty hardcore project. I found a stand for her that makes it look like she's flying, and I was so happy. I hope you like her, and hopefully the latex wing tutorial will be helpful for your own dolls. Unfortunately, she didn't actually fit in my wardrobe, so she's going to be on display on my stand. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for all of your constant support. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, subscribe, makes me really happy, and comment. I love reading them. Thanks, see you next time. Bye!